Have you, like Jim, been concerned because you've seen a headline that says that if you catch up on sleep during the weekends, your risk of heart disease is significantly lowered? If this is the case, then you are at the right place, because we're going to take a close look at these claims, and we're going to find, like so often, that there's no reason to let this affect your sleep. In fact, there is nothing here, in my opinion, to worry about. And that leads to where we want to be: peaceful sleep and peace of mind. Let's take a look. Hi there, and welcome back to Heard Online, a series of investigative videos where we take a close look at claims made on the World Wide Web about sleep to determine if they're true or not. And the suggestion for today's video comes from Jim, who actually sent an email recently, and I thought we could actually start there by taking a look at this email from Jim. He says, "Hi, Daniel. Maybe you've already read the article in yesterday's The Guardian from Friday, August 30th. Catching up on sleep at weekends may lower cardiac disease by a fifth. But if not, this might be a good one to do on Heard Online." And in fact, I immediately replied and said, yes, let's do this for Heard Online. Jim says, "I would love to see what you would say about this one, because the author claims they are backed up by scientific studies that definitely support their claim that sleep deprivation definitely causes cardiac disease." Thanks, Jim. That was the end of that one. Okay, so clearly, there was some concern from Jim's end here, and I want to thank Jim for the suggestion here. And Jim, I hope you find this review valuable. So let's jump in and take a look at the article that Jim is talking about. It is this one. Again, from The Guardian, and we already looked at the title. Now, I actually really tried to find the report that is in the European, the meeting of the European Society of Cardiology, but I couldn't get anywhere closer than articles like this one, where the studies or the reports from this presentation at the European Society of Cardiology were reported in mainstream media. So we'll have to do with this. But anyway, let's start from the start. It says here, the header here: people with the most compensatory sleep 19% less likely to develop heart disease than those with the least. And so, starting with kind of our trigger meter here, this is pretty triggering. The attempt here, I think, is to really get your attention by scaring you, and that's always tricky when it comes to sleep, because a lot of people get worried and then have trouble sleeping, right? Anyways, let's read this. It says, people who catch up on missed sleep at the weekend may have up to 20% lower risk of heart disease compared with those who do not, according to a study. The findings, presented at a meeting of the European Society of Cardiology, looked at data from 90,903 adults taking part of the UK Biobank project, a database that holds medical and lifestyle records of 500,000 people in the UK. So firstly, it's notable that this is not a paper, like a published article in a journal. If that was the case, we might very well have been able to find the actual journal and take a look at it in detail. No, this is presented at a meeting, and at meetings you present like an abstract, which is kind of like a summary of some study you've been working on, or you do like an oral presentation, where you show some slides or something like that. And helpful here to know for us is that these are more like preliminary findings, like not the findings that are published in a peer-reviewed journal. Like it's more like when you present at a meeting, it's more kind of preliminary and things that you're working on, rather than the solid findings that are summarized in an article. So that's the first thing to take note of. Now, second thing you may wonder here is, what does UK Biobank project? Well, often when we do Heard Online, we find that the data comes from these type of ongoing surveys, if you will. So the UK Biobank project is a ongoing kind of longitudinal study where 500,000 people in the UK are asked regularly about all kinds of things, like, how much do you work? I don't know what they're asked about, but I can imagine that it's things like, how long is your commute? How much do you work? Do you smoke? Do you do this? Do you do that? Like, it's probably a huge questionnaire. They also take like blood samples. Maybe they do some imaging studies on these people, and they do this for many, many years. And the idea with these type of studies is to like identify things that are linked to negative health outcome and do some preventive works. That's kind of the main idea. So oftentimes researchers, they get access to these huge data banks and sort of mine them and to look for something that they're interested in. And that's what we're looking at here. This group, I think it's a Chinese group. They have gained access to this UK database. And they've decided to mine it to look at like sleep, catch-up sleep, and heart disease. That was kind of what they used the biobank for. So that's a little bit of background on kind of the methodology here. And with that said, let's jump back in here. Of these, and I think this, when they say these, they mean out of the 90,000 adults whose data they looked in. So out of these, 19,800 met the criteria for being sleep deprived. And over a follow-up period of 14 years, the researchers found that the people who had the most extra sleep during the weekends were 19% less likely to develop heart disease than those who had the least amount of sleep at the weekends. Couple of things are interesting here to me. One is that only, let's say, 20,000 out of 90,000, so slightly more than 20%, met criteria for being sleep deprived. And the reason I say only is that the way people talk about sleep deprivation, it can sound as if like, this is a huge like epidemic, like an incredible amount of people are sleep deprived. When you look at this study, it's like, okay, it's about, a little more than 20% or about 20%, which sounds much less dramatic than what we often hear. That was a little side note there. And by the way, what do they mean with sleep deprivation? Sleep deprivation in the study was defined as those who self-reported having had less than 7 hours of sleep per night. So people said like, regularly, I sleep less than 7 hours per night. Those were classified as sleep deprived. Now, what we know in our community is that when you objectively measure sleep with EEG, you find that the average sleep for humans is about 6 hours. And if you ask random people how much they sleep, most people say about 7 hours, right? So are these people truly sleep deprived in the sense I see it? That probably not. I don't think so. And we're also here talking about another problem of the study, which is that there was no objective measure of sleep. It was just you just asked. It's all self-reported, right? So a couple of things there that I think are interesting for us. Now, there's one more thing, and this is that they say here that the researchers found that the people who had the most extra sleep during the weekends were 19% less likely to develop heart disease than those who had the least amount of sleep during the weekend. So they compared those with like the most catch-up sleep, or the most reported catch-up sleep, with the group that had the least reported catch-up sleep. And we're going to see that to me is like, it's like really, I think, significant in terms of kind of our review of this article. Now, how much those who got extra sleep, the range from 1 hour to 16 hours, that's a very big range. Those with the least sleep were quote unquote losing 16 to 0 hours during the weekend. I don't know what they really mean. I guess that they were not getting 16 hours if they were not getting 16 hours of catch-up sleep, then the reason they were losing that could be what they meant. They can also mean that they calculated how much sleep debt they had, like sleep debt as in like how much they lost during the weeks. I don't really know what they mean by that. Anyway, they also looked at the subgroup. Not interesting to us, I think, because they essentially saw the same thing there. And I think we can pretty much finish off our kind of like our data gathering section of this before we kind of analyze and see what we make of this. But let's just go over these two quotes from Professor Yan-Yung Song, the study author from China's National Center for Cardiovascular Disease in Beijing, who said, sufficient compensatory sleep is linked to a lower risk of heart disease. The association becomes even more pronounced among individuals who regularly experience inadequate sleep on weekdays. So you can see here that Professor Song doesn't say that they have evidence that sleep deprivation causes heart disease. Professor Song also doesn't say that they have evidence that catch-up sleep on the weekend causes and improved improved health outcomes. But Professor Song simply says that we have seen a link. We have seen a link. And Zehen Liu, a co-author, says our results show our results show that for a significant proportion of the population in modern society that suffers from sleep deprivation, those who have the most catch-up sleep at weekends have significantly lower rates. Again, Liu doesn't make a case that this shows that catch-up sleep improves health outcomes, but just says that we've seen what word do they use? Have lower rates again. So I think what's helpful for you to know as you read articles like these ones is that any reputable source, like a researcher, somebody from academia, they never actually say that lack of sleep causes this or lack of sleep causes that, because there is no evidence of causality. There is no evidence that short sleep or insomnia causes any health issues. What they always say is, oh, we've seen this link now, and maybe they'll look concerned, like we've seen this association. There's a strong association. There's a clear link, but it's all smoke and mirrors. Nobody has found a causality. Nobody's found any like cause and effect, and that's why nobody says that, right? So it's all kind of like they implying, they kind of suggesting, and kind of creating an illusion that we know that one thing causes another when there is no such evidence, right? So something to really take note of. Now, okay, we've done enough of kind of like the data gathering and like looking at what was reported here. And to me, there are 4 points that I wrote down that I thought could be really helpful to talk about. Question 1, how big was the group with the most catch-up sleep and the one with least catch-up sleep, right? We don't know that. And the question that comes to my mind is that, okay, out of these 19,000 people who are sleep deprived, you may have chosen to compare the 1% that reported the most catch-up sleep with the 1% that reported the least catch-up sleep. And when you look at it that way, you see that there's really very, very small populations that you're comparing, which makes this very much less interesting. But that's not shared here. We don't know. They just say, well, we compare those with the most with those with the least, right? So that's kind of a big missing piece here for me. But in some way, it doesn't matter, because we still have these problems, the problems of self-reported sleep deprivation. If you want to study sleep deprivation, I think you really need objective data and really maybe surrogate markers like actigraphy, but it's also not as reliable as like real EEG. Like if you really want to study sleep duration, you need EEG. You need like all these monitor these little leads on your head to truly see if somebody's sleeping or not, to determine if they're sleep deprived or not, because we humans very often do not accurately report how much we sleep. It's more like it's very subjective. We often think we sleep this much, but it doesn't, right? So the big problem here that we see in many, many, many studies of sleep is that there is no, this is all just self-reported sleep duration. But I think the biggest one is this one, which we find over and over and over and over and over again, the lack of any proof of causality or direction. What they're saying here is that, okay, they mine data, like 14 years worth of data from this data bank, right? And they're saying like, oh, we saw that in the group that had, like, if you compare the group with the most catch-up sleep in the weekend and the least catch-up sleep, we saw that in the group with the least catch-up sleep, there was a 20% higher incidence of heart disease. Like there was 20% more people like developed heart disease there. But what you, of course, cannot answer here was it that these people were getting sick? They started having congestive heart failure, arrhythmias, they had heart problems that of course affect our health and cause us to have sleep disruption, and that in the illness affects our sleep and or our perception of sleep. When we're not ill and we think about, did I sleep well, we may very well go, no, I didn't sleep at all this weekend because I'm not feeling well, right? So it to me, when there is like these links between health and sleep, it is very easy to explain those links because of course our health has an impact on sleep and or our perception of sleep, right? So it can be so easily explained here without implying the opposite, that it's like somehow not catching up on sleep would cause heart disease. Like I don't know why you would try to imply that when you can so easily explain these findings, by looking at things the other way around. Now, finally here, just an interesting point. If there's anything we've heard over and over again from mainstream media and rooted in studies from academia, et cetera, it is that there's no way we can catch up on sleep. Like everybody's always pointing fingers and like, you gotta sleep every night, you can't make up for lost sleep. But here we have a study that says that, oh no, it's great to catch up on sleep, it's great for your health to catch up on sleep, is what's suggested here, right? And so the interesting point to me is that that seems to not be a problem. Like as long as headlines can be produced that catch our attention, they're going to be out there, even if they contradict things that have been reported many, many times over again. So again, attention is really vital for people in, let's say, academia, people in media, and this is why we see these types of headlines out there, in my humble opinion. But, and kind of final thing here though, is I will say that this is completely subjective, but in my kind of experience, having done these Heard Online videos and generally been active on YouTube for many years, there seems to me that there are less scary headlines around sleep. My feeling is that if you go back like 3-4 years, they were quite prevalent, and every week somebody would say like, hey, can we talk about this article? Can we talk about this article? Now it's just a trickle of that, which actually is very encouraging to me. It seems like that it's kind of a trend that has reversed and less people are talking about that, which to me means, like, again, there was no causality found, nothing was ever proven, and for a while people were like, we're going to find something, there's really something here, but there was never anything found. So let's conclude our Heard Online for today here. Hope this brought a lot of value to you, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Hi there, it's me, Coach Daniel. I hope you found a lot of value in the video you just watched. And if you're looking for a bit more personalized support on your insomnia recovery journey, then head over to thesleepcrystal.com. I think it is the #1 resource for insomnia sufferers worldwide. And there you will find free programs as well as paid programs with certified sleep coaches. You can join a community of people who understand what you're going through because they've gone through it themselves, or they are on this journey of leaving the struggle and arriving where they want to be, just like you, that place of peaceful sleep and peace of mind. So again, I hope the video that you just saw brought a lot of value to you. And if you're looking for a bit more personalized support on your journey, then head over to thesleepcoachschool.com. And if you decide to join, we look forward to seeing you on the other side.